Hey everyone, today I want to talk about the fact that different people have different strengths and weaknesses in different areas. So, what does this mean? Well, I've been observing people and I've really started noticing that you could be very exceptionally good in one or two areas of life, but you may suck in another area. And oftentimes it requires uh, at least few areas in life where you're pretty good to have a pretty decent life, to achieve happiness, fulfillment, um, financial security, and so forth. So let me just give you some examples. You could be a person who is very rich, but you are exceptionally out of shape and very unhealthy. I mean, you see it all the time. Look at all the richest people in the world. A lot of them are not known for being healthy. In fact, oftentimes, not always, they're unhealthy. I mean, I'm sure there's millionaires who have accomplished this, but billionaires usually they're so dedicated to one aspect that uh, it, it can bleed over to not taking care of other areas or just not emphasizing these other areas. Just look at Carlos Slim, richest man in the world, or Bill Gates or Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett apparently eats a lot of fast food every day. He still eats at McDonald's and he still drinks 4 or 5 cans of cherry Coke every day. So that's just one example. It goes on and on. You could be very exceptionally healthy, but not smart. Um, and by smart, I mean book knowledge. Or you can have a lot of book knowledge, but you don't have any real wealth or financial stability, and on and on and on. Now, why is this important at all? Who cares? Well, it's important because of the one big secret. I mean, there's many secrets of people who are successful in life, but one of them is knowing that you have to surround yourself with the people that you want to become like. So, therefore, if you want to be rich and that's your number one goal, you want to surround yourself with people who are very rich, definitely richer than you. Same thing with exercise. You want to surround yourself with people who are very healthy, who are very lean, fit, and I mean the implications and subconscious uh, bleeding through effects that diffuse through from person to person are just immense. I guarantee you, if you surround yourself unconsciously with people who are just uh, constantly unhealthy, choose to eat unhealthy, and so forth, that can be completely wrong. And so you kind of have to work and figure it out. And again, there's small, detailed nuances that it's important to note, but it's the general idea is what's important. For instance, one nuanced detail would be that there's a difference between someone who's healthy and has a fit, healthy mindset and lifestyle and practice regimen. And maybe he's not healthy right now, but he has the right principles and ideas, and that will bleed through. And you can tell one day he will get there. And maybe he's overweight right now. Maybe he's unhealthy. But that person may be much better than a man who's just naturally born with a high metabolism, who's very fit, who looks decent, looks fairly fit, but honestly has horrible self control, no eating habits, and so forth. And so, again, it's very important to surround yourself with these people. But therein lies the problem, which I find is that many different people have different strengths and weaknesses and different things that they're good at. And you are going to be hard pressed to find someone who's a 10 out of 10 in every category or even close to it. And if you do, I guarantee you there's someone out there. Um, those people are hard to even get in contact with because they're so in demand and they're so busy and they have all these people. So you have to compromise at some point. And what I find is that the best piece of advice that I've figured out myself, maybe there's something better, but from what I know, um, you want to just compromise and realize, okay, that's going to be how it works. So you want to break the people up. So there are nights when you want to be better with females or the opposite gender, the same gender, if you like if you play like that, and you want to get better with girls, then you want to surround yourself that night with people who are better with girls, and whatever they do that night, go out and so forth. Again, it depends. It also that gets into like other stuff on dating, like I mean, your personality, is that the type of scene you like, and so forth. But the general idea is there. You want to surround yourself with people who are better with girls, not people who are equal or worse off with you with girls. Like, it's just common sense. And yet, I see a lot of people who are just completely oblivious to this. They just go about associating with everybody. Like, anyone they see, talk to, they're not selective at all. They don't. I don't think they're aware. So they just associate with all sorts of people, horrible people, uh, everything, and it just subconsciously influences them. So the basic idea is, let's say you want to break your days down into segments, and then in those segments, you have one goal or priority. And let's say it's fitness. Then you want to hang around people who are much more fit than you, go to the gym with them. And then when it's work time and your goal is to excel in work, you want to hang around people inside and outside of work during that work period that are doing what you want, or maybe even in your free time, if you set that as a priority, you go out and spend time with people who are more wealthy and can get you places, and their natural mindsets and different beliefs and habits will bleed through and will help you achieve wealth. Now, this whole piece of advice in itself is very, I think, useful, but I think you will run into obstacles and excuses. I have myself, and it is difficult. I'm still working through it, which is the fact that the biggest obstacle would be the fact that, oh, I can't find people who are willing to uh, go out of their way to hang out with me, or and so forth, the yada yada yada. Sometimes, I mean, you have to really just sit back and and ask yourself, well, how many people have you reached out to, or have you only reached out to one or two and called it a day, and they didn't respond? How did you reach out? Was it through email when they're bombarded with thousands of emails, things like that? And this time we're talking like mentors and advisors, but heck, if you want a group of people you can hang around, it's not that hard. Like, I know it can be difficult. I've been there. But as far as fitness goes, that's probably like the easiest one. Like, there's websites like meetup.com where you can find fitness groups in your area and work with them. And if you're in a school organization, same thing. And sometimes it's tough. Like, sometimes maybe you're in some weird suburbia area or some far off place. But you just want to make sure that you have tried absolutely everything, because you can easily fall into the excuse of, well, it doesn't work for me because of this. You can easily fall into that, when in reality, like, if you just did some more digging, you could find something. And I think fitness is probably one of the easiest. And I mean, immediately it will bleed through. I remember just testing it out and going to this school fitness. It was a long distance running recreational group, and they were all very focused on running, like straight up focused, and it was very regimented. There was like a small community where they chatted initially, but then as soon as the practice or whatever you call it started, boom, they were off to the races. And you can't help but be affected by that, because literally, like, there's 40, 50 people and they are running and they are all faster than you, and you just naturally feel left behind when you're like the slowest of the group. So these things can definitely help. And so if you want to go somewhere, work on that. it's a very interesting psychological phenomenon when, let's say, for instance, you're uh, practicing in long distance running, and the person you are practicing or running with is always maybe slightly faster than you or always in front of you. It's sort of like a subconscious urge to just catch up and push harder. Now that's not always good. Like sometimes you want someone who's can stay parallel with you, so you don't always feel like you can never reach them. Um, but that's the general idea. And what I want to conclude with is the fact that there are certain values that you should try and accept um, and not compromise for. So this is just my belief, but I think that um, one thing that I think I should never really compromise with is a sense of morality and surrounding myself with honest, ethical people. So that means that even if there are people I can associate with that are very good at athletics or with women or um, whatever else, making money or whatever it is, sometimes it's not worth the association. Sometimes you have to let it go. Other times, if it's like a something else, I mean, it's really up to the individual to decide. And um, oftentimes, I do think people get it wrong. Sometimes they're just too picky. Every small thing can just lead to a huge, oh, I don't want to associate with this person. Or they're just too lackadaisical. It's always the extreme. It's very hard to get the right medium. So what this means is that they just associate with them regardless of all this other negative stuff that they're having. I'll give you two examples. Let's say a person is very good at making money, just picking it out of random, and he's very wealthy. And associating with him and being with him can be very useful because let's say he's in the exact niche that you're interested in, business, and he's in sports attire selling, and you're like, oh yeah, I'm associating with this person or this group of people, and it's very great. But they're doing a bunch of drugs and um, compromising on a lot of things that your values just don't stand up to. Whether it's drugs or cheating on their wives or something like that. And they're consistently doing it. Now, that just might be too much, and it might be a good idea to just move on and realize that there's plenty of efficiency and find someone better. Now, it's sometimes difficult, very difficult to do so, but it can, it might be very well if you did so. It'll probably be better. And then I'll give you the second example. Um, let's say there's a person who's very good at fitness, um, but he made a mistake and he cheated on his girlfriend once. Now, again, it's a case by case basis. It really depends on how sorry you really think he is, if he'll ever do it again, and so forth. And for that, it might be overkill if you just throw your hands up and leave him, especially if you're strictly focused on fitness and health. And all you do when you see him and are around him is talk about fitness and health, and nothing ever gets brought up about life or relationships and so forth. So finding that right balance is key, and it's tough to do because oftentimes um, we don't get those blessed individuals who are just like on point. Like sometimes um, you'll get those individuals who like did cheat on their girlfriend or boyfriend and love to talk about it and don't mind it and would probably do it again. And so those are those instances where you kind of have to realize, well, what do I do here? I mean, compromise? Do I not? And so forth. And as just a little caveat, I do have to say that also there's the fact that um, there are situations, whether in the workplace or whatever, where uh, because you're not the boss and you can't just go about firing people, or just because of the environment, whether it's school or whatever, you have to associate with people that you know you don't want to, and so forth. Not everyone, unless you're a business owner, can fully have the luxury of just picking and choosing the optimal people that they want to associate and be around in their life. And again, this bleeds into like, well, is this truly the job that you want? That the job you're passionate about? Do you think you can change jobs? And that sort of stuff, which I won't get into because it goes fairly deep. But generally, um, if you really can't and slash or you love what you're doing and it's just the nature of the job, whatever it is, um, what has to then change is, in my opinion, yourself and how you deal with them. Because if you can't just uh, straight up get mad and pissed off at everyone, or just ignore everyone that you don't like. And that's all I gotta say. Thanks for watching. Hope this provided you some value. And finally, I just want to add a little bit of a surprise disclaimer to the end of this video for anyone who has watched it until the end. And that is that um, I'm thinking about doing another uh, vlog video series. I'm not sure yet. Most likely it may come out, may or may not. Um, and